Thank you for joining me today on what we call the mini messages on our YouTube channel. I do appreciate those of you who have subscribed to our channel and passed the word along, because we're going to be doing much more in the days ahead. Something came to me just the other day. My daughter, actually it was my granddaughter, was having her birthday party, her 2-year birthday party. And a minister friend of mine from Chattanooga and I were discussing this together, and he shared some things with me that I had not been aware of. As most of you know, I have not necessarily at all, I said not necessarily at all, been on the road. One is because of a sabbatical, and secondly is because of the coronavirus, because most churches are just having online services or very limited attendance. And most pastors want to be ministering to their congregations at this time, which is totally understandable. Several months ago, a minister contacted me who was part of a great organization in the United States. This organization is very, very keen and very, very anointed, if I can say that, at starting brand new churches. And most of the time they have to rent a facility where they initiate a church plant. This particular leader was telling me that they were having difficulty with public schools because due to the coronavirus, they did not want church people coming into these large auditoriums with possible corona and then having students come in and catching it. So they had canceled a number of contracts. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, the man had told me that over half of their church plants, which were in schools, that some of the contracts had been canceled and they really had nowhere else to go. And of course, you can't always just set up an outdoor service because you have to get permission from the community, from the town, from the city. And sometimes that's very difficult, especially in the setting that we are now in with this particular virus situation. But my friend from Chattanooga was sharing with me the number of churches that he knew that were completely shutting their doors. And I was very surprised to hear this. He said, one of the things that has happened is this, that in some of the churches that maybe did not have the internet available, or maybe they didn't have a system set up, and there are many rural churches, by the way, throughout the mountain areas of the Southeast that do not have internet service or do not have an internet online. And I know that sounds strange, but these are older pastors that have been there for years, and their congregation may run 20, 30, or 50 people, which in that town is very good. But they were unable to bring their people together into a service. Many of them are older people who do not want to gather in a public place. In fact, we're still seeing in the churches that we know of that the older members of the congregation are still hesitant to come out into a public setting because of the danger of the coronavirus that's been reported on the news, etc. And so because the older members of the congregation have not been attending, it's very, very, very difficult for the ministers to be able to get this financial support that they need. And while in some areas the church bills are paid in the sense of the building has been paid for, there are other areas that they still owe a mortgage. And of course, there's the electricity, there's the lights, there's the power bills, there's the tax that may come on the property or the parsonage or whatever the case may be. And I'm only using some of these things as an example. So the point is, there seems to be, and I'm getting more reports on this, churches that are going to go ahead and shut their doors completely because of lack of support, lack of financial help, owing mortgages that they cannot pay, or the older congregation that has not been attending. Now, this is very troubling for several reasons, because once a congregation shuts down, and number two, once people get used to not attending church, the sad thing is they just simply quit attending at all. The men that I have spoken to are running about 1/3 of the average that they normally did, let's say in the month of March. For example, if a church ran 300, they're down to about 70 to 80 people actually showing back up. Now, some churches are at half full, but in other areas, they're not allowing churches to fill up because of, quote unquote, the social distancing. Now, I don't think necessarily that this is some kind of a government conspiracy to stop people from going to church. However, in some Western states, and you know who I'm talking about, there's definitely persecution against Christians, and there is definitely a movement by atheists, agnostics, and unbelievers to try to shut down the church completely. That's probably where my greatest concern is in governments and state leaders who literally are liberal left leaders who don't want the church to be in existence anyway. Now, believe it or not, in America, there are people who are in positions, even in the House and Senate of the United States, who are anti-Christian and anti-church. And yet, people who call themselves Christians keep putting these people in. Well, they'll have to answer for that. That's not my problem, that's theirs. But I'll say this, I'm very concerned about the condition of many of our smaller congregations that people depend on and they need to participate of and be a part of. I know there are people that say, well, I don't have to go to church, I can have church at home. But the Bible says this, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some, and so much more as you see the day approaching. The point that Paul is making there is that the closer we are to the return of the Lord, the more we need fellowship, the more we need to be together, the more we need to be fellowshipping somehow in some way in what's called the ecclesia. That's the Greek word for church, which is the ones that are called together. And even though that many communities have other churches that people can go to when a church shuts down, there are some communities where the older congregation has passed away and the churches are shut. I travel sometimes in Kentucky and southwestern Virginia, West Virginia, what we call the mountain states. And I see so many churches that are completely shut down, and yet they're in a community where people still live. And this greatly, greatly disturbs me because I don't see the church as a denomination. I don't see it as a Baptist or Church of Christ or Methodist or Church of God or whatever. I see it as the body of Christ, I really do. And it just hurts me, and I know it hurts the heart of the Lord when His people cannot come together the way that they should and the way that they were instructed to do according to the Bible. So here's what I want to suggest to you. If you have a local congregation or a local church, be supportive of that congregation and that church. Contact your pastor and let him know we're still here. We're still with you. We're still going to be a part of this. And when you can, just put a mask on and social distance until this is all over and be a part of that congregation because you need the fellowship. You need the presence of the Lord. You need the singing, the praise, the worship, and the word that's coming out of that congregation. And the second thing is, while I certainly appreciate social media, please don't get in a habit of just watching Christian television on Sunday and that being your church, or just going to social media unless you're physically unable to go to the house of God. Then be thankful that you have that option. We cannot forsake the body of Christ. We cannot forsake the local congregations. And for goodness sake, don't forsake the church. Now, there are people that refuse to go to church now because they've been hurt or they have been offended. You better get that offense off of your heart and off of your spirit. Because in the days ahead, with what's about to happen in America, there's going to be some things that's going to shock some of you, and you're not going to believe, is this happening in freedom-loving America? And the answer will be yes. Now, we will be having our Epic Times Prophetic Summit in October. By the time some of you watch this, it will be over, but I hope that you will register for that and keep registering for the Perry Stone YouTube channel as well. Pray for your pastor, pray for your church, and above all, support it. And I also want to thank you who are watching me, who are partners of our ministry, that have helped support the voice of evangelism and keep us strong. I'm now working on a brand new 2-tape audio album, Christians Who Are Delivered to the Will of Satan, based on 2 Timothy 2:25 and through 26. It's going to be a very long message. I have pages of notes for it. So be looking for that perhaps down the road on the Manifest telecast. God bless you and thank you. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel and never miss a video by clicking the bell to get the alerts when a new video is posted. This YouTube channel is made possible by your generous donations. So to support our outreach of teaching, visit perrystone.org/YT.